What is up, everybody? Welcome back to more Tournament Champions TCG coverage. We are bringing you live action from our top 8. We see that Cerro just moved on to the finals, and we are going to jump you into action with Houston versus Jaden Global. I believe we are still in game 1 for these two here, and we are bringing you right into the action here. I'm your host. I am Brett Banfe, Manifestival. Follow us on the socials, championstcg.com and discord.gg/championstcg. Lets you be a part of the game action too. Happy to help you get started if you are new to the game. We see Houston at the bottom of the screen, one card in hand. Stana in play. Stana has a damage on it. Speedy has 4 damage on it. And we see Frostwing also on the battlefield for Jaden Global. Jaden Hellbent, that is colloquial term for no cards in hand. And we see two cards in play. Down comes the Gua King, gets an attack on those ice cubes. Now we see the Frossetti comes down for Yusin. Mechadrone returns the opposing Gua King, and now the Blizzard wears off for Jaden. Jaden still with that Frossetti in play. Jaden at 17, Houston at 14. So both of these players really hanging on. All right. Just doing need to do a quick audio check right there. Just want to make sure everything has fired properly. If anything is not working right now, we did just switch midstream, so just want to make sure we are still firing for everyone. Looks like we are, though. Gua King and Grumble on the battlefield for Yusin. Frostmare. Grumble gets an attack in on the Jelly, and then we see the Trolley take everything out, but there we see an attack, and Yusin is down a game here. All right. So we are seeing that this is semifinals action here between Jaden Global and Yusin. Business. Gasses Yusin up here. That was the Shadow Steel off of the White Lily. And we see Tournament Edition Fangs coming down for Yusin. And now we see Grumble join the fray. Mechwing gonna return the Grumble. Ocho to take out Mechwing and get an attack with Fangs. So both players playing the grindy matchup. Jaden was able to rise to the top of that in the last matchup. We'll see how that goes this matchup. With the Flammerai coming down the Inferno ability, does leave that Ocho on the battlefield, but it takes care of Fangs. Shout out to Ed Robles there from Thailand saying hello to us. Hello to you too, Ed. All right. Grumble and Monkey for Yusin at the bottom. Grumble's going to go back to hand. Mechadrone. That was a 5-mana play for Jaden. We'll see what happens here. Something like a Blizzard. No, that's a Magma Claw. Takes care of the White Lily, but also cleans up that Mechadrone. Unfortunately, it does clear itself off the battlefield. The Ice Eagle Monkey come down, and that allows for a Blizzard attack with no retaliation on Yusin's Monkey. Ignisteel successfully fires on that Ice Eagle, redeploying Grumble. We knew that was in hand. Came back to hand from that Whirlwind. Players are in the semifinals of our weekend open series here. They played through 5 rounds of Swiss tournament play yesterday. This is now the second round of top 8 single elimination action, best of 5. Players competing for $500 in prizes. We do this every weekend. If you would like to join, get started, we have a really friendly, open community. So my name is Manifestable. Just drop into the Discord, say hello to me. Let me know you want to get started playing the game, and we will help you do so. We see that Scorchwing comes down. It does leave the Ignisteel a little bit basically unscathed, and now dropping Frostmare. Gua Prince joining from Yusin's side. We see a big attack. Oftentimes the players who are assuming the beatdown strategy, putting their opponents on the back foot, so that's why you see Yusin ignoring that Frostmare, just swinging for face. Gelfin, a very powerful pseudo Ocho, pseudo Barry, pseudo Uga, 4-mana rush attacker with 6 power. We also see this gorgeous tournament edition Ignisteel there. Beautiful. Love it. Trolley comes down with a big attack. That's gonna, the Frostmare is gonna pop the Retribution. And that does clean the board up due to the fact that that Earthquake came down. Yusin cracks back with an Earthquake of his own and deploys Shadow Steel to draw a card. And woofa. These players competing to join Sero in our finals matchup. There comes Grimblade for Jaden Global. A very powerful ice champion. It cannot be Hydroblasted due to the fact that it has guard. So very comfortable card to bloom with your end paw. You see Speedy and Trolley get attack in there after deploying Cryoslice and Obsidiwing. Firon takes out Obsidiwing. This Grimblade will have choice. Can't get the Woofa because of the shield. It can't get the Cryoslice because of the health. Could go for the Speedy, but it feels a little bit, when you have this big 6 power attacker, you want to do a little bit more than just eat a Speedy. But we do see a Bloom Blast that hits that in Chakra. That is with the tournament Enchi, dropping a Jello as a 4-mana 6/5. Jaden at 15. Really up against it here. This Cryoslice at 7 health. Out of the range of that Grimblade. Sidawing draws a card, but that is 5 mana. It's going to be very difficult to find an answer for the rest of the board. He does manage to find Uga, but this is a crackback for lethal. And there we see Yusin answer the call. Jaden put Yusin on the ropes there. In the previous game, we see Yusin answer back. Players are already jumping into what we believe is game 3 here. Down comes Grumble. Fangs is a clean answer on Grumble. One of the best feelings in the game. When you Fangs your opponent's Grumble, you just feel like you're already set up to win this game. Due to the fact that the curse from Fangs does not care about the shield that Grumble carries with Aegis. Wow, Eaglon back my own Fangs. We talked about this yesterday. I'm not sure I love that play just because of the fact that you aren't positive whether a curse is really impactful in this matchup right now. Could be, but 3 turns from now, it might just be a little bit lost in the shuffle. Whereas that Eaglon, the Whirlwind, can be so important to use when you know something is impactful as opposed to when you think something may be impactful. Fangs does take Monkey out. Then Fire on backfires, so 6 to Global's face. Speedy now can eat the Fangs. Five mana. Instead, it is a Earthquake turn. Firon of his own also backfires, so players trading backfired combustions there. It's a little bit less of a feels bad moment when your opponent also backfires. Just a Frostmare go. Five in hand for Global at the top. Rossetti with the Blizzard. And that's not going to do lethal, but it does slow it down for a turn and get it a little bit closer to an attack for lethal. Could come next turn from the Aqua Fluffle for the shield. Aqua Fluffle, the funniest and best card to say on stream. It was so much fun. First of all, where did that name even come from? It feels like the secret password to the Kingdom of Narnia or something like that. Alright, Shadowsteel coming down. Wind Seeks. That could go get something like the Hydromain, but there's nothing to blast now. Could get the Glacetti if he plays it, or the Ignisteel. Out of all of those, probably the Ignisteel the most likely, because it does represent a clean kill on that Firon. Unfortunately, you can't evolve it because, of course, you can only evolve the card if you control its predecessor version. And since Firon is controlled by Yusin, you would have to pay the 5 mana to play Ignisteel, assuming that he went and got that. Mechwing coming down for Jaden Global. Returning one of his own creatures. Ice Eagle Blizzard on Shadowsteel allows an attack in with the Frossetti to clean that up. Now we see the trade. A very good attack there. Firon survives. Bloomed back up from Enchi. Hydromain comes down with the evolution. So just a turn ago, Jaden and Global and Yusin seemed like they were sort of neck and neck. Still possibility for a big retribution turn that could turn the tides here. But even with the retribution this turn, you're still taking an attack for 23. This is another approach, so you can try to just trade down with your opponent by making profitable trades. But it is going to go a little bit slower. If you can do it successfully, though, you will have a long-term advantage. Enchi willing to do the work for you by trading off with Uga. And there we see the Bloom Blast. After Hydro-Mane was returned to Yusen's hand by the Mecha Fly, that was sort of a crafty play by Jaden, thinking, well, I don't have a 8-power card, so I might as well return the Hydro-Mane, but Cutie Bug had other ideas about that, and Chakra and Jelly combined for their own Bloom Blast. And now we see, sort of, if you were Jaden and you could have picked your opponent's actions, I think you would have picked all of the things that Yusen's been doing, because what you didn't want to see was an attack on Jaden's face. You're not set up to handle that when your opponent is presenting a board that has 20 plus power of attack. But if you're going for this slow, grindy top deck strategy, and your opponent is trading 2 cards with yours and trying to follow up with Earthquakes to kill your Ice Cubes, this is a game that Jaden can win. Gua King, though, very difficult to deal with. The thing about the Gua King is that it's not just a great defensive card. Oh wow, Flammy whiffing for Jaden there. He really needed that Flammy to at least hit one of those cards. Instead, the Cryo Slice is going to defensively freeze the Gua King. So you're still not out of it here, Jaden. He's behind. And there's a double trade to take the Cryo Slice out, but again, you're still not behind. Some Snowbeak right here to trade with Gua King, or even a Speedy. And now you are a card behind, but you're not out of it. Whereas Yusen, on the other hand, he seems to have just really become fixated on this idea of trading for value with his opponent, as opposed to smashing the opponent's face. There he remembers Hulk Smash. He takes a big attack for 14, and then we see a big bloom on the Grimblade, but I think if you were Jaden there, you need to bloom yourself. That's you're in dire straits there. I think that Yusen should have probably started to attack Jaden a little bit earlier in the game, because he let Jaden hang around for quite a long while. It turned out that that didn't matter because Yusen remained in control of that board. But for several of those turns when he was trading, multiple times with his Frostmares and cracking Earthquakes against his Ice Cubes, it seemed like instead, if he had just been smashing Jaden's face, that maybe he would have made a little bit more progress there. We see 6 in hand for Yusen. Looks like Jaden is on the draw, so he has the White Lily. Fangs. Another move that I don't totally love. Fangs just to curse that card, but it does allow an attack from the Snowbeak, so in the end, not so terrible after all. Usually when you deploy the Fangs, you have to kill something with it. Unless there's a real good reason why lowering the attack is really valuable to you. In this case, it allowed the Snowbeak to get the attack in. Firon taking the Snowbeak out. Jaden 6 in hand. 5 for Yusen at the bottom. If you're just tuning in, we're watching Champions TCG. This is semifinals action between Jaden Global at the top of the screen, Yusen at the bottom. There is the Fangs Tournament Edition to take out the opponent's Fangs. Firon gets the attack in for 4. Woofa Not able to attack. That is because it does have Aegis. We'll need to wait the additional turn to attack like creatures that don't have Rush. Ocho taking Fyron out. Woofa can attack it, but instead Fangs decides to trade. And Woofa gets an attack for 4. So Yusin remained the beatdown for most of the game, last game. A little bit towards the middle of the game, he started to try to trade for value, but quickly, once he dropped that Gua King, he remembered that Gua King is a great beat stick. Just swing at the opponent's face. Interesting play there. He decides to freeze it and attack it with Woofa. That will allow Woofa to attack it next turn, and every card for Yusin survives Retribution right now, due to the fact that they are all hovering at the 5 health mark. Scorchwing really whiffs, so we see Jaden last game had a very unfortunate Inferno that set him back for the remainder of the game. And there we see Fyron just popping that Retribution. It's a double Retribution due to the fact that Jaden had one as well, and that cleans most of the board. The Woofa survives due to the shield. There's Monkey, and then the Jello Vanilla. So nothing to Hydro Blast there, just plain vanilla. Jaden at 36, facing a pretty difficult to deal with board here. It's not impossible, but he's facing an attack for 14, so this attack represents dropping his life total to 22. What we see there is just Speedy, not a play I love. Speedy to, what he's trying to do is set up a Retribution to take out the opponent's creatures. But something like a Mech Wing there would just completely throw a wrench into that strategy. Shadow Steel may be going and getting the Gua King, but if you get the Gua King, you can't trigger it. So Frostmare instead. Down comes a Magma Claw, so while we're seeing Jaden struggle to hit those Infernos, we're seeing Yusin rip them. One of the Frossettis, one of the Ice Cubes frozen with Blizzard. By the way, thank you everyone for tuning in. We appreciate you being with us for this top 8 coverage. Down comes the Slice. That's going to freeze the Magma Claw. Just gets it with an attack for 2. And nothing to blast there with Hydromane. So, Earthquake takes the Magma Claw out. Also takes the Cubes out. Counting up the cards, looks like we have roughly around even here. Galefin, though, gets the attack for 6. So Yusin, I believe Yusin maybe already has 2 games, so a win here could move him on to the finals. He's at 58. Jaden, on the other hand, at 16. Instead, he takes out the opponent's Frossetti. So playing cautiously here, Speedy gets the attack for 3. Yusin with 2 in hand. Jaden able to clean things up. Yusin looking for Rush right now, but if he doesn't have Rush, Jaden is in a position to have some counterattack here. Yusin, that's a Frostwing. I think we knew that the opponent had the Frostwing. I think we knew Jaden had the Frostwing. I think it was returned to his hand on an earlier turn, so Yusin was aware of that Frostwing. It is a looming threat. The Frostwing and Grimblade attack for 4. There's a Bloom Blast, but the nice part is that it cracks down into those Shadow those ice cubes. Gives you a little bit of protection, especially when your opponent is representing some pretty scary rush cards when you're at 13. Yusin, though, playing Shadow Steel, a great card. It looks like Shadow Steel returned to Yusin's hand. Very surprising. I would have returned that Hydromane. You don't want to see your opponent drawing two more cards there. Or, excuse me, one more card there. That seems very... But we'll see. We could see an attack with the Cubes. Cube takes the Caterpillar, the Cutie Pillar out. Then Snow Gaze. So, okay, Yusin gassing back up. This is exactly why you don't want him drawing two cards. Because now you are in an attrition match against your opponent. The last thing you want to be doing in that scenario is drawing them additional resources. The Cube takes out the Gua Prince, triggering Retribution. Uga able to take out Snow Gaze, but Yusin, we know, has that Shadow Steel in hand. So there it is. It's coming back down. Now picture this if it instead was the Hydromane, would be much less scary. Yusin would have one less card in hand. And there is the Aqua Fluffle. So this is an attack for lethal. The Mechadrone, of course, can trade with the Shadow Steel and Chakra. So there's a Bloom Blast. Now the Mechadrone can trade with Shadow Steel. And your opponent now has two cards in hand compared to your one, but you are winning the race right now. You might not be winning for very long, but you are winning currently. He just drops the shield. Enchi with the Bloom on Grumble. A very nice target for that Bloom due to the fact that it has that Aegis shield. And Chakra able to attack the Grumble but not kill it. Jelly able to attack but will succumb to the Enchi. Only good attacks really are Jelly on Aqua Fluffle and Chakra on Obsidiwing. That's a trade. There you have it. Then the Earthquake. Okay. And Griffion comes down. Likely that's going to target Grumble. Or it could target the Trolley and then you just Earthquake again. I'm not sure. I haven't kept track of mana for Jaden. You could whiff on the Grumble, but you're going to at least get the Enchi. Your Griffion will survive. Feels like getting Trolley back and double Trolley is a good use of your resources. But if you do Griffion back that Grumble, you're guaranteed to remove it from play. The problem is that now that that Grumble comes in with the shield, you're also re-powering the shield up. Maybe you just choose nothing. I don't know if Jaden doesn't have 2 mana left. Looks like he chooses nothing. Difficult decision there. He's going to take an attack for 7. That means he's dead to Uga, Ocho, Galefin, all of the usual suspects. Instead, it's Ladecia that you can beat. If you're Jaden, you feel like you can beat a Ladecia. It is a trade with Enchi on that Trolley. So Griffion now will be able to eat the Grumble. In a perfect world, maybe can't eat the Grumble because really you have the Ladecia on the battlefield, so it temporarily eats the Grumble. Okay, so Griffion just resets its health by chaining those whirlwinds. Now, okay, so it's a double Snowbeak. Oh no, it's not. I thought he might try to rush again, but it looks like he's setting up a rush for next turn. Now your opponent knows you have it, so they can play around it. Fortunately, it is a little bit looking like end of the road here for Jaden. Triggering the Retribution, that's what you had to do. The Mech Wing is frozen, but Munta, you don't need the Snowbeak at that point. Munta does the job. And that was a very good game by Yusin and by Jaden. Both players playing extremely well. We're going to jump back into the finals coverage now. We will see Jaden Global competing with Oot for that third place prize and the cash. That will come a little bit later, but we will instead be bringing you Sero Yusin game action here. This is the finals matchup. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready for a banger. Sero, 3 mana, drops the Shadow Steel. If you are tuning in, if you are streaming, drop us your prediction in the comments and why. Maybe add a caveat why you predict that player will win. Both players extremely seasoned, savvy veterans here. Shadow Steel getting an attack in there. Then evolving into Obsidiwing. We are playing Singleton, so the evolution's much harder to pull off. But you can, of course, get that Shadow Steel's evolution by wind seeking itself. One of the nice parts about running the Obsidiwing. You can always dig for it. Wolfa comes down. He might have just had Obsidiwing in hand, so... 5 mana now for Sero. Interesting to see which player will try to assume the beatdown role. Seeing Yusin crack off a Magma Claw. It stays around as an 8-4, knocks Obsidiwing down to an 8-2, but does take the Ice Eagle out. Snowbeak able to crack in on that Magma Claw, and now we're going to see an attack for 8 from the wing. In addition, Sero with another 4 mana to spend, uses 2 of it for Grumble, but leaves the other 2 unspent. Bruce chiming in. Both players are incredibly skilled players, and it's not really possible to pick one. Trolley with the big Earthquake, then Fangs takes Grumble out. The Earthquake taking the shields down, then deploying Gua Prince. But this, we talk about it a lot. Monkey able to trade with that Gua Prince. And leaves it as a little bit of a lost opportunity there. Yusin might have the same Monkey and do Gua Prince attack. Instead, it's Ocho. It's not as bad as the Monkey because it did cost 4 mana as opposed to 2, but deploying Ami, that greeds to gas back up and then returns. We see Sero evolving the Trolley into the Troll Rock. That takes the Ami out, draws Sero a card, and puts a 5/5 on the board. There we see Uga come down with an attack for 6, and will the 3 mana left be spent? It is Mecha Fly on my Uga, wanting to redeploy that. So we wondered who would assume the beatdown strategy. Sero has solidly moved into the beatdown role here by mech flying his own Uga. That is the signal that he wants to remain the aggressor for the rest of the game. Mechfly cracking in on the Woofa, drops the shields. Slammy takes the Woofa out. Then we see the trigger on the Retribution, and Ami gasses Sero back up. With 4 mana left, that Mechafly returning the Uga comes in handy because it dodged the retribution. Cryo Slice, freezing, Amy. Then we see an attack back from Yusin. So he's not wanting to be the only player dealing damage in this game. Decides to swing in with his own monkey. It's a little outclassed on this board with the Uga there. Ignasteel taking a combustion, not sure what the target was, but it backfires. Then it was likely the Cryo Slice because there was going to be a follow-up Stana to clear the slice. Instead, Uga has to take the slice out because the Ignasteel whiffed. And now we're going to see the Ignasteel fall after a blizzard from Frasetti. Speedy stays alive. That's a bloom on the monkey to crack in on the Stana, and then an attack for 4. Gua King coming down, looking perfect on this board. The Gua King not able to suicide itself. Barry takes Speedy out. Yusin living on the edge right now. Let's see if he can... So he sandbags that card in hand. Doesn't want to play it into the Gua King. Lose it with Retribution. Snowgaze cracks in and draws a card and follows up with another ice card, the Frostmare. Frostmare, a nice defensive protection. You have the Gua King. The Gua King can eat the monkey. Now, Yusin only attacking for 5. Barry was able to get some of those cards off Yusin's board. So was the Gua King. Both players with 2 in hand. Cutie Pillar comes down. Then we see a trigger of Retribution. It's a double Retribution due to the Ladacia, and Frostmare now at 2, but bloomed back up by the Enchi. Cero deploying Mortalis. We saw in U's matchup that there weren't many Hydroblasts. Luckily, Yusin has one exactly when he needs it. Fang's taking out Aquafluffle. But now we see Cero turning the corner. Yusin at 4, and this is a very precarious situation if you are Yusin. It's a Stone Fur which does a pretty good job of cleaning the board. Unfortunately, it leaves a lethal attacker. The Rogorser was able to get in. And we are going to Game 2 in our finals. My name is Brett Banfe, Manifestival. Thank you for tuning in. And coming into this game, we see the players have joined. Let's jump in and follow the action. Enchi to start off with Yusin. Now business to gas up for Cero. He has 9 in hand compared to Yusin's 6. Enchi taking that business out. But that's just a pass. Then Cero on 3. If you are new to the game, please join us, discord.gg/championstcg. We'd love to help you get started. Ocho comes in, cracks in on that Enchi. Of course, it would have survived had it not attacked that business. Now we see Munta ignoring the Ocho, going straight for Cero's face. So we saw Cero win that game after slotting into the beatdown roll. But here we see Yusin trying to assert the beatdown strategy right from the get-go with a big pig on a motorbike. Unfortunately, Enchi is able to bloom the Ocho up, and that allows Ocho to swing in on the Munta, and then Speedy gets 3 in on Yusin. So there we see Ocho falls to the Ignasteel's combustion, but that's a pass back. Ignasteel, the biggest card on the board right now, but will there's a Fyron. Fyron with the combustion of his own takes Ignisteel out. That's 6 damage directly to that Ignisteel. And then Monkey jumps in, and that's an attack for 10. So Cero is reasserting his interest in remaining the beatdown strategy here. Dropping Yusin to 47. Fangs cleanly answers that Ocho. Great job. Then the Gua King. That is a good defensive card, but also doubles as a strong attacker for 5. What you want to do is immediately kill that Gua King. You cannot allow it to stick around. It's far too much of a liability. But if you do spend your turn killing the Gua King, you are still facing a strong attack back. I'm just trying to change my audio a tiny bit here. You should see this audio clean up a tiny bit for you guys. All right. Let me know in the comments if that sounds a little bit better. Shadow Steel coming down. Aquafluffle joins and Mechwing as well. Much better. Okay, great. That's good. That's good. Appreciate the shout out there, Zach. All right, and now we see the attacks begin. This looks like an earthquake, and it is. The Aquafluffle survives due to the shield, but able to get the others off the battlefield. Cero seemingly in the driver's seat here. Yusin down to 3 in hand. Does have a strong defender in Gua King. And Woofa. Woofa's a nice card when you're value trading with your opponent. But right now, if Yusin's strategy is to begin value trading, that is a strategy that Zero is fine with. Zero will win that due to the fact that he has 3 additional cards. Highly likely. Also, anytime your opponent is trying to just trade value against your champions, it means they're not attacking you for lethal. So it gives you longer of a time to devise your own strategy for how to advance your own agenda. Yusin all the way down to 32, so Cero doing a good job of remaining aggressive while also remaining, taking care of the cards that Yusin is putting on the battlefield. As we see right there, Stana cleaning up the board, but then Hydro Main comes down and cleans up Mortalis. So both players really going back and forth. What you're likely to see this game come down to is who has the first big snow gaze. For example, Hydro Main can eat this Stana. Instead, Uga comes down and takes the Hydro Main out. Stana gets in for 2. And then the Gua Prince is deployed. It is an earthquake. Then a defensive blizzard on that Gua Prince. And I really feel that Yusin's back is against the wall in this game. Barry coming down. That's going to allow the Gua Prince to survive. And Monkey takes care of it, but that's a Blends Bloom from Yusin on himself. Shadow Steel to gas back up. It's a double steal. And there is Barry with an attack for 6. So Cero finding these moments in between the trading of value to just get these little attacks in for 4 here, 6 here. And it's really starting to combine to put Yusin under this gun. We talked about that snow gaze. A big snow gaze is going to be a differentiator in this mirror matchup here. You can see that coming on the side of Yusin. There it is, a cutie bug blooming Yusin, but it will be a little too late. Instead, this is an attack for exactly 21. Sero just double checking the math. 6 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 still adds up to 21. Adding a little bit of showmanship there with a flammy right prior to attacking for lethal. So you attack with a clean kill. That is a perfect from Sero. Just shy of perfect. He did suffer 6 damage there. But, you know, Sero sending a message with that victory there. 2 games to none now. Sero is jumping in. We're bringing you right into game 3 here. This is the first game action. It's Speedy with an attack. Firon off of the White Lily. Drop Speedy and Amy to gas up. Speedy takes Amy out. That lets Firon survive and gets an attack in. Yusin began with an attack for 4 last game. That was the last damage he dealt all game. Let's see if that remains the case as Yusin looking to assert his strategy as the beatdown. Desperate to get some damage in on Sero and force his opponent to play reactively. But what we're seeing is Sero is just not allowing that to happen. Ignasteel with a big time combustion on Woofa. It leaves this Aqua Fluffle around, but not able to trade with anything here. Even the Shadow Steel outflanks that Aqua Fluffle. Frostmare instead. The Fluffle takes the White Lily out. That's in preparation for future Inferno turns. So that's smart from Sero. Frostmare added to the board. That's a 7/7 with Shatter. Part of the ice element. Frossetti with a Blizzard. That will hit the Frostmare, and we'll see the Frostmare likely attacked for lethal. It might not be the Ignasteel that does it. It may be an additional rush card that comes in, and it is. That's the Frostmare. And what we see is the Ignasteel clean up one of those Shatter Cubes. Shout out to Zach Wins. Ice Cube, his favorite card. Let's just jump in and take a look at this. It is a 2-mana 2/2 from the Ice family with the Provoke ability. And more importantly, it comes in off of that Frostmare and the Frostwing. Shadow Steel now with the Wind Seeking. And Sero getting those little sneaky attacks in. We saw him use those attacks to great effect last game. Frossetti able to take the Ice Cube out now. Sero may be trying to set up some kind of Earthquake turn. There it is. Yusin triggering that Ladacia. Then just deploying the Woofa. And a Cactosaurus. Passing back now. Sero on 7 mana. Yuka comes down, goes after that Cactosaurus, as it must, of course. It has Provoke. Drops his own Cactosaurus. And this is the Jacob Wilson Tournament Edition Cactosaurus. Big Time Stana comes down and drops that Cactosaurus, as well as the Uga, and now representing an attack for 12 next turn, would drop Sero to 44. It is a pretty significant attack there. Will be Mechwing to return the Prince. And then Fangs taking out the Aqua Fluffle with full shield. So you get extra value off of that because your opponent was not able to use that Aegis ability. Barry takes Woofa out. And now we see Trolley cleaning things up. Turning back, and again, though, Sero has managed to thwart Yusin's attack. Just like last game, Yusin got that early 4 damage in, and that was the only damage that he dealt. Looks like that may not be the case this game. Yusin content to continue to trade, but Sero with these very resilient cards like Boopasnoot and Grumble, both of these cards difficult to deal with due to that Aegis ability. Grumble trades with Gra Prince. Boopasnoot survives because of the Aegis shield. Shield's down on the Snoot though. Snoot takes 2 into charges into the Cryo Slice. Now we see a defensive Ice Eagle, and then triggering the Gua King with the Rogue Orser, but a great answer from Yusin. Just a Magma Claw, go. Attack for 7, go. Galefin able to trade with Magma Claw and drop the Gua Prince. Wow. And an Ami, exactly what Yusin needed. Just like we saw last game, this comes down to these turns where one player is able to gas up with a big greed turn. Yusin able to do that. Now in the driver's seat, attacking for 16. That is a 2-turn clock. Ladesha, frozen now, will not be able to trigger greed, or excuse me, trigger retribution. Just a vanilla Hydroblast from Jello. That was just a raw dog Hydroblast. He didn't even need to bloom it because Enchi bloomed it instead. And Sero sees the writing on the wall, just goes face, but Sero now at 3. Gets the Earthquake, but unfortunately not enough there. So Yusin with a nice answer to a very well played game from 2 games from Sero to get a 2-game advantage there. Yusin with a good answer. Now going into game 4. And what we saw last game was that Yusin had that one middle game greed card that pushed him over the edge. These players both so strategic at their one for wanting and their value trading mid game that you need those greed turns